All right, so moving on to part 2. Still adding and subtracting polynomials, but this time we're actually going to do the math and do some of those things, okay? So let's start off easy, all right? Let's do 5x to the third plus 5 plus 3x to the third minus 1. Okay. So when adding and subtracting polynomials, okay, remember you could only add and subtract like terms. So you can only combine the like terms. Now, for more help, if you need help on combining like terms or a refresher on that, I've added the video in the link in this assignment. Okay, so if you need to go back and watch how to how to combine like terms, please go back and watch that. So remember, so look at these numbers. Okay, we have our one term here. All right, and we have our second whole thing here. Okay, 5x to the third plus 5, and then it's this whole thing plus 3x to the third minus 1. Okay, so really how this works is that you can only combine like terms. Okay, so what are our like terms? Well, we have x to the third here, and then no letter here, right? X to the third here, no letter here. So the only ones we can add, really, we can add these two here, right? Because they both have x to the third. They both have that, we can add them. And then we can add, nope, okay. This is a new marker, and it does not work. All right, good to know. And then we can add these two here because there's no variable, right? So when we do that, if we add the first two, we can do 5x to the third, and then whatever's in your middle is what you're going to add. Is what you're going to do. It's add plus, right? So it's this plus this plus 3x to the third. Okay. And then our second terms, we have 5. Okay, we have 5 plus, and then now remember that minus here goes to the 1, so -1. Okay, or 5 minus 1. Okay. Now when we answer this, when we do this question, do the math. Remember, you're only adding your numbers. Okay, they have a like term here. You keep that the same. Add the big numbers. All right, 5. So add the big numbers. 5 plus 3 is 8, and then your term here stays the same. Okay. Same with this one here. Add them. 5 plus -1 or 5 minus 1. You do that, and you get 4. Okay. Now, so if you put this whole thing together, okay, the whole thing together, combine these two here, and you just put them together. 8x to the third, and then plus 4, because that's positive 4. Okay. And that's all there is to it. So, once again, to reiterate, we have two things here. 5x to the third plus 5, 3x to the third minus 1. Okay. What we're doing, that's fine. What we're doing is we can only combine the like terms. We have x to the third here, x to the third here. We can't do that because that has an x to that letter, that one doesn't. Okay, so we have to do this the same thing on the other side. Okay, so 5x to the third here. Our sign in the middle here is plus 3x to the third here. So we add these together. 5x to the third plus 3x to the third. Add the numbers 3 plus 5, and we get 8. And our letter and exponent stay the same. Then we do the same here. 5 plus our thing here, which is -1. 5 plus -1 which is the same as 5 minus 1, which is 4. And then once you have these two, because it's positive 4, you combine them together, x to the third plus 4. Okay. Now you can also rearrange this, okay, if you really wish. You can do it this way too. If you wanted to go 5x to the third plus 5 plus 3x to the third minus 1. And you can add straight down. Okay, these are the same. Add straight down. Add your numbers, 8, and that stays the same. Add your numbers. 5 minus 1 is positive 4. Now you can do that too. Okay, it's the same way of doing things. It's just a different way of setting it up. Okay, so if you want to stack them like that, you can do that. Just make sure that your terms align with each other. If you want to do them side by side like before, you can do that as well. Doesn't matter which one. They both give you the same answer. Okay. Let's do 6a minus 3a squared plus 2a squared minus 3a. Okay. So we have two terms. We have this first one here and the second one here. Remember, you can't do anything within the parentheses because this one has a squared, this one just has an a. You can only combine like terms, you can't add those together. So you leave it the way they are and add across. Now, remember, match up the ones that have the same. We have one a here, a single a here, a single a here, so we can add these two. And we have the a squared here and a squared here, so we're gonna add these two, okay? So if we're adding this, we're gonna add our 6a plus, and then what's our a here? Negative 3a. So 6a plus, and then that minus goes with that, negative 3a, okay? Now our other terms have an a squared. So we have our a squared here, and our a squared here. So now this minus goes to the 3, okay? So we have negative 3a squared plus 2a squared, okay? Now do the math for them. Negative 3, remember, only adding the numbers. And so negative 3 plus 2 gets us a negative 1, and then we keep our letter and variable, or sorry, let's keep messing with a letter and exponent. And then the other one, we have 6a plus negative 3a, which is the same as subtracting. So 6a minus 3a would be 3a here. Now, put them together. Now remember, when you order them, the higher exponent goes first. So our final answer is negative 1a squared, and then this is a positive 3a. And that's our final answer. Okay, so once again, we're just combining our like terms. Single a here, a squared here, a squared here. I group them together to make it easier to add, and then I put the answers together at the end. Okay, so it's just as easy as that. Now, if you want to stack them, and I'll show you can stack them. But when you do, make sure you keep the same terms lined up with each other. So this first one here, you can do 6a minus 3a squared. But when you do this one plus, where's your a squared? It's here. So you have to add, so you have to basically have to switch these around. Okay, so it lines up. So this is going to go first because your single a is here. Negative 3a, right? And then plus 2a squared. And if you did the math, 6 minus 3 is 3a, negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1, a squared, rearrange them. So this is in front, and negative 1a squared plus 3a. So you can do it that way too. It's up to you. If it confuses you about switching them around, and don't do it. Keep the way you were doing it the first time. I think it's easier to understand that way. That's just me. Let's do 2a squared plus 4a to the third minus 3a to the third plus 8. Okay, so we have a few different things here. Okay, what do we notice? Well, we have a squared, we have an a to the third, we have an a to the third, and we have an 8 with no letter attached. Okay, so remember, we can only combine our like terms. We can only combine the ones that have the same variable and exponent. So what do we have? Well, we have our a squared. Okay, now, and is there an a squared on this side? No, there's no a squared. It's just a to the third, and there's no letter here. So that's going to stay. That's the only one we have like that. Okay. What else do we have? We have a to the third. So you have a to the third here, and we have an a to the third here. Okay. And then our 8 is hanging out by himself. Okay, he has no letter, nothing else has letters, so he's by himself. Okay, so do them all together now. What's our highest exponent? 3. So let's do these ones first. Okay, so we have 4a to the third, 4a to the third. Now what's our sign? It's a minus sign, a minus. So we're going to subtract these. Minus 3a to the third. Okay. Now what's our next highest exponent? It's 2. Okay. So we write this term here, 2a squared. Now because there's no other a squared, it's just going to stay by itself. We're just going to leave it alone. It stays by itself. And then our last number here is 8. Now, very important note. Look at your sign in the middle. It's a minus sign. If your sign in the middle is a minus, that means their minus sign goes to anything to the right of it. So anything to the right side of it in this term here all has a minus in front of it. So you see how our 3a to the third here, see how it's a minus right here? Okay, same concept. If our 8 here is by itself, it has to have the minus in front of it. Okay. Because really what you're doing is that you're basically adding a 0 over here and saying 0 minus 8. When 0 minus 8 is negative 8. Okay. So if there's a minus in the middle, it stays a minus. This is a plus in the middle. So if we went plus, this becomes plus. But it's not. It's minus, so it stays as minus. Okay. Now do the math and put everything together. So the first thing we do, we have 4a to the third minus 3a to the third. Only, look at your big numbers. 4 minus 3 is 1. A to the third. Okay. Your 2a squared just comes down. There's nothing to do with it. Okay. And then lastly, your negative 8 comes down. Nothing to do with it there. Put everything together. Order of highest exponent. So 1a to the third plus 2a squared minus 8. And that's our final answer. Okay. So we're only combining the like terms. We're doing what it says in the middle, and we're only combining our like terms. Okay. Group them off. If you need to color code them, group them off. We have a to the third. That's one thing. A to the second by itself. This 8 becomes a negative because the minus in the middle goes right here. And then just group everything together, combine at the end. Okay. Let's do 14 plus 12x to the third plus 17x to the fourth, can't see, plus 15 minus 5x to the third. Okay. So look at this. Look what we have here. Okay. We have two things here, and we have three things here. That's okay. Okay, it doesn't matter. They're both polynomials, and we're only just going to still combine our like terms. Okay. So first thing you do, look for your highest exponent. What's your highest exponent? Well, we have nothing here. We have a 3 here. We have a 4 here. Nothing here, and a 3 here. So our highest exponent is our x to the fourth here. Okay. Now it's our only one with a 4, so it stays by itself. Our next highest one is a 3. So we have a 3 here. We also have a 3 here. Now, what's left? We have two numbers. We have 15 and a 14. There's no letters involved, so that means they both can be grouped together. Okay. So, highest exponent is 4. Let's go ahead. We're going to write that down first. 17x to the fourth. There's nothing else like it. It stays the way it is. Our next one is our x to the third here, x to the third here. So write those down. We have, starting from left to right, we have 12x to the third. And it's a plus. But look, this minus sign goes with this one here. So it's negative 5x to the third here, okay? And then our last terms here are numbers, no letters. 14, and then plus, and it's positive, so 15, okay? Now, let's do the math where we can. Okay, our first term, 17x to the fourth, no math involved. We can just bring it down the way it is. Our second term, we have 12x to the third plus negative 5x to the third. So do the math of the big numbers. 12 plus negative 5, or 12 minus 5. That gives us 7x to the third. And lastly, our numbers by themselves with no letters, 14 plus 15. Add them up and we get 29. Now if we put all these three things together, we have 17 x to the fourth, and this is a plus, 7x to the third, and plus 29. Okay. So easy as like that. All right. Combining like terms, put them in order from highest exponent to lowest exponent, which is none if you have it. Let's do one more. Let's do 20y plus 11y to the fourth, and then it's minus 15y plus 16y squared minus 17y to the fourth. Okay, a lot of numbers here. Okay, so first thing we do, find our highest exponent. Okay, we have a y by itself, so 1y here. We have 4, we have 1, we have 2, and we have 4. Okay, so let's go ahead. Our highest one is our 4. So we have a 4 here, right? We have our 4 here. Okay, so if we write, and then our next highest one is 2. So we have 2 here. There's no other ones with 2, so that's our only one with the square. And then our last terms we have here, we have y's by themselves, so that's going to be our last term here. Okay. So remember, we order this in number from highest exponent to lowest exponent. So our highest exponent are our ones with 4s. So we write those down. We have 11 y to the 4th. And what's our sign? Our sign is a minus sign. So minus, and then this minus here goes with the 17 as a negative. So minus negative 17 y to the 4th. Okay. Our next one here is our squared, which is 16y squared. Now remember, what's our sign? There's nothing on this side, okay? It's just this one right here. It's on the right side of the main sign, which is a minus sign, which means this number is now, because it's a positive 16, there's a minus in front, it turns into a negative 16y squared. Okay, remember, this sign goes for all 3 of these things, okay? That's why minus and negative right here, all right? And then our last ones are y's by themselves. So we have 20y here minus 15y here, okay? Now let's do some math. Look at our big numbers. We have 11 minus negative 17. Well, what happens when you minus negative? Become plus, right? So 11, so this becomes 11y to the 4th plus 17y to the 4th. When you do that, you get 28y to the 4th. Okay? So remember, minus negative turns into positive, add them up. Our second term, negative 16y squared, it's by itself, it stays that way. Remember, it's negative because we have a minus as our main sign in our problem. And the last one, we have 20y minus 15y, big numbers, subtract them, 20 minus 15 is 5y, okay? Now put these all together in our final polynomial. We have 28y to the 4th minus 16y to the 2nd plus 5y. That's our final answer, okay? If you need extra help with this, there's videos online. If you go to my website, my actual website, there's a tab on the left called additional resources for math, and there's a site called Purple Math, and if you go on there and type in the subject, which is ask trap polynomials, it should help you out with anything else you need there if you need extra help with it. Hopefully this helps with these things. It looks complicated. I know if you look at the work, there's a lot of things going on here. All right, so take it step by step, okay? Only combining like terms. Remember, watch that video if you need help with combining like terms. You know, just group the ones that have the same letter and exponent. y4, y4, okay? Let's combine those two together. You know, y and y, combine those two together. That's by itself, leave it, okay? Don't make it harder than it is, okay? You're just combining the like terms, okay? Watch a video on that if you need to. I hope that helps out.